What's up, guys? Welcome back to Healthy Recipe. We're going to be making today a delicious traditional pot roast in the slow cooker. I haven't used the slow cooker in a little bit, and I figured it was time to bring it back out since you guys have been asking so much about slow cooker recipes. So we're going to be using some fresh vegetables and a piece of chuck roast, and it's going to be super hearty, and of course we're going to make a healthier version of it, and it's going to be delicious. So let's get right to work. Okay, so let's go over our ingredients. Here we got a 2-pound piece of chuck roast. This meat is perfect for beef stew because it's got a good amount of fat in it, and it becomes very tender when it's cooked for a long period of time. The great thing about beef stew is that you guys can use a lower grade choice cut of beef, and it will still taste absolutely delicious because you're cooking it for so many hours that it will become really, really tender. So you don't have to go and spend a whole bunch of money on expensive meat to make a delicious stew. So then we got some Worcestershire sauce. We got some fresh garlic. I got about 6 cloves there, finely chopped. I'm using some thyme leaf. If you can get it fresh, much better. I just got the dry stuff right now. Smoked paprika, white cooking wine, 4 red organic potatoes, and basically I leave the skins on and just chop them up. I use a stiff brush to get any dirt and debris off the skin of the potato. And I have some baby portobello mushrooms, some peeled stewed tomatoes, and these tomatoes are all natural. They just come with sea salt. Here I have about 5 organic carrots, and I do the same thing as the potatoes. I just use a stiff brush and leave the skin on. I don't actually peel these because a lot of the vitamins are in the skin. I have 1 bunch of parsley, just fresh parsley, 1 big white onion, cornstarch. This is going to be used to coat our meat and then to caramelize it and sear it first. Bay leaves and cumin, and of course salt and oil. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to coat our meat with the cornstarch. You could also use flour. This is going to create a nice caramelized crust on the outside. When we go to sear now in a pan, just kind of pat that in, just a really thin layer. Now this is going to create another layer of flavor, like a nice crust on the outside of the beef when we get this seared on the outside. It adds a really, really nice flavor to this recipe. Okay, so now on a pan on high heat, we're going to put about a tablespoon of cooking oil, and we're going to go ahead and get that nice crust working on the outside of our beef. Okay, so now the oil's hard enough, we're going to go ahead and put our meat on. Okay, so we're just basically going to rough chop these vegetables, the onion into about 1/2-inch cubes. And our carrots, we're just going to remove the ends. Same thing, about 1/2-inch segments. Then our potatoes are the same size roughly. Cut them down the middle to about quarters, and about the same size chunks. The mushrooms are going to cut in half. I'm going to start moving all of this stuff over into our crock pot now. heating the crock pot with the mushrooms. Now we're gonna create our sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and put the garlic, chopped garlic in. About 4 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Actually, maybe about a 1/4 cup there. I'm gonna take our stewed tomatoes and chop them up real fine. Go ahead and put them in too. Okay, so now I'm going to add some of my dry spices. About a 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika. About a tablespoon of dried thyme. About a teaspoon of black pepper. And about 2 teaspoons of salt. And you could always add more salt later when you taste it. Okay guys, so here we have all of our chopped vegetables and a beautiful piece of meat that we seared earlier. It's got a nice crust on it, really nice. Now to this we're gonna add 2 cups of beef broth that I forgot to put in the ingredients, but we're gonna add it. And then we're also gonna add the sauce with all the seasonings that we created earlier. And you're just gonna spread that all over the meat and all over the vegetables. Make sure you spread that out evenly. And now we're gonna set this on low and cook it for about 8 hours. If you're gonna do it on high, usually about 4. So basically what I want is the heat to cook this meat really slow, and I want all that juice from the meat and the fat to drip down into the vegetables, and that's gonna create some really rich, beautiful flavors. So we'll set it up and we'll come back in about 8 hours and see what that looks like. Okay, so it's been 8 hours since we put this in, actually almost 9 hours now, and this is falling completely apart. Like you could cut it with a spoon right now, and that's what you really want when you're making a good pot roast. It's got that gravy in there, the vegetables are super tender. So what I'm gonna do right now, and this is optional, you guys can serve it just as is with the vegetables, but I'm gonna make a nice thick gravy to pour over the top, and basically we're just gonna put some of this beef broth in a pot, and we're gonna create a slurry to thicken it, and then we're gonna pour it over. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll show you guys how that's done. Okay, so basically I have about a 1/4 cup of water, room temperature water here, and I'm gonna use 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to create a thickener. And you guys can use this technique to thicken any soups or broths that are too thin. It's just a way to create a roux to make things thicker. Like I said, it's optional. If you guys don't want a gravy to pour over it, you don't have to. You can just use the sauce. So basically we're gonna mix all this together. And then we're gonna take some of that broth from the crock pot and put it in a pan and make that gravy right now. So I'm basically gonna put my stovetop on medium-high heat, and we're gonna pour some of that juice right over. You can strain it if you want to, but if a couple of little chunks fall in, that's fine. It's not gonna hurt anything. And this gravy you could use for other things too, like mashed potatoes or cauliflower mash or whatever you have. It's gonna be really flavorful. Now we're gonna go ahead and add that once it gets hot. Hotter, because it's already hot. As you guys can see, that thickened right up. Got a nice thick gravy. Okay guys, so here I have basically some rice that I made earlier, and what I did was I also took some of the broth from the beef and poured it in the rice after it was almost done to give it some of that nice beef broth flavor. So basically I'm just gonna take, and you could break this up with a spoon. Like, look how tender this is. This meat is like falling apart. Like, look, I just want to show you guys. So basically I'm just gonna put that over my rice, just take a couple of pieces, just like that. And then we're gonna take some vegetables, just like that, a little bit of mushrooms, carrots, just a bit of everything. Okay, so now we're gonna take some of that nice thick beef gravy and pour it over the top of it, just on our beef and our potatoes. And now to add, we're gonna add a little bit of shredded cheese. This is a personal preference. If you guys don't want to add the cheese, you can leave it out. And for color, and also to add some nice freshness, we're gonna put some chopped parsley over the top. And that's basically it. So there you have it, guys. There's my beef pot roast and gravy made with chuck roast and fresh vegetables. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you give this recipe a try. It's really simple for you guys that are super busy. You can just leave it and come home and have this ready for dinner for the whole family. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Alright, so let's give this a try, see what it came out like. I'm gonna grab some of this rice, some beef, and a little piece of potato. It's so good. Super tender. The beef just falls apart. It's creamy with that gravy on it, but it's not greasy at all. It has a ton of flavor, and that fresh parsley as a garnish just gives it a really, really nice, fresh, crisp taste to it. All combined, it's got so many layers. And the rice is also really, really good. It's seasoned nice. It's unbelievable.